we're now streaming, so welcome everybody to the June meeting of the Baton Rouge Astronomical Society. Yet again, you are stuck with me hosting the meeting for the month because Don is up north at Fort Abraham Lincoln. He is having a good time though. And I'm going to make us pause here just for a second because I just remembered what he said. All right, it's going good up there, up here. We had some dangerous levels of wildfire smoke from Canada last weekend, but things cleared out. I guess that was the only message we had. Yeah. So he's dealing with the wildfire smoke up there. I saw a bit of that in some of my Michigan friends' news feeds. The Mackinac Bridge was completely, clouded out. It looked like a horrible foggy day, and it was just wildfire smoke coming down. So kind of crazy. But aside from that, goings on with the club yesterday, we did have our, I won't call it annual, it's not, doesn't happen on a regular basis, but a little outreach training session out here. We had 4 or 5 of us show up for that. Got a lot of good ideas going around to help bolster what we do at our outreaches. A lot of the ideas were how to provide a little bit of hands-on activity, especially for younger kids. A lot of the functions that we do are the STEM nights, and just being like upcoming, we have one will be over in Lafayette for a little kids day camp. On June 28th, we're going to be at the Louisiana Art and Science Museum for Dino Days. So we see a lot of people coming through those places. They like to have hands-on activities for kids, and with telescopes, you don't want that to be your hands-on activity so much in that aspect. But we do have some great ideas for getting some of that going from Tammy, who was there yesterday. She has done some good stuff in the past on her own that we're going to adopt as well. And that has to do with providing just some like construction paper, talking about the formation of nebulas with kids, and then having some colors there and stuff so they can make their own, draw and color their own nebulas and take that thing with them. So simple things like that should be pretty cool. We'll continue to do our crater making thing. That's a popular one, even though it's not popular with the club members to run it because you get covered with all the flour and stuff. But
Tammy offered to do them in perpetuity.
And we have our little gravity well black hole simulator thing. That one's been very popular with the kids as well. So more and more of the little hands-on things for the very little kids. We're going to take it. Finally, it's still brand new in the box, and I haven't worked at Toys R Us since they closed more than 8 years ago, almost 10 years ago. We have something that'll be perfect for the age level that we'll be dealing with in Lafayette. It's a giant kind of a mat of the kind of has the sun in the center and a bunch of concentric rings around it, and it comes with a whole bunch of little Velcro sticky planets and space shuttles and space people and asteroids and stuff, and the kids can, and it's about like 10 feet by 10 feet or so. It's a very large mat, so they can get out there and play and stick the planets in orbit around the sun. So that for that age level, we'll be seeing over there. Other business, we get kind of slow in the summer, so there's not a whole lot going on. We did have a question pop up about whether or not brass needed a license to, from the Office of Charitable Gaming to conduct our monthly raffles that we've got out here. So I did contact the Office of Charitable Gaming there. It's something that the question that had come up about 10 or more years ago, I remember. And we did the same thing, and they told us, yeah, they told us the same thing. They said, yeah, no, you're okay, as long, you know, we're not raffling off anything of, you know, high enough value that we would have to get ourselves one of those yet. Now, in the past, unbeknownst to us, I know we had, but like there was one time we purchased that little 35 millimeter lunch solar H alpha scope, and it was like $700 at the time or something, and we raffled that off. Fortunately, that was like 15 years ago. I think the statute of limitations have passed, but now that if we were to do something like that again, then we would have to obtain a limited raffle license, which covers, you know, then we can have, it's only $25 per year, and we can have a raffle item up to $10,000. So I don't anticipate us having that anytime soon, but the option is there if we ever do have the donation of something that is not quite like this, that's going to be worth actual more money and stuff because it was brand new and in good condition, and with all of its parts and whatnot, then we could afford the small fee of $25, and they can trade, do an annual report on it. But other than that, we're all covered. So got that squared away and taken care of. Which one? Oh, this one here. This it's broke it down in the brass closet right now.
The one where we're at.
Yeah, that's we're still right now. That one's he's talking about the one we talked about at the last meeting there. The Louisiana Art and Science Museum. It's not that why they liked it, and they were like, oh, that'd be great, but they don't have the room for it, just as we don't. So we will find a good home for that somehow, and get that on its way. But for the meantime, it's broken down, so it's not taking up space out here. John, you wanted to say something about your, yeah. You don't have to use the microphone. Unless it's helpful, do you like the microphone, or you like, no, yeah, use the microphone.
Well, I don't know
Get some older people in the club.
I've been working on a book form about a lot of stuff I did for the newsletter for all these years. And the first one I've done is for trucks. I've got everything done, cost reference, all that, all the deep sky. I'm trying to finish up all the stars in it right now. But this is a preliminary type sample. If anyone wants to look at it and see, this is going to be along the lines of what I will be putting out eventually for all the 62 constellations I've been writing on. So anyway, this is here. If anyone wants to see it, you're welcome to come over and see it.
It's the shortest John has ever talked. I didn't have enough time to eat the rest of my piece of pizza.
Done delivered.
All right, I think unless there was any other actual club business that we needed to talk about, I don't think so. Like I said, things are going fine.
The sunspot,
Oh, yes, that's right. See, Tammy almost forgot about it. We did have a question at the little outreach thing yesterday about a sunspotter. How many of you know what a sunspotter is? Several of us. It's a cool little device. It's in like a cradle shape. It has a triangle of wood that's open inside of it, you have a lens that's mounted in it that directs light, hits off a little beer and puts it down on a little piece of paper, and it's already perfectly focused and whatnot. You point it at the sun the right way, and it projects an image of the sun, and you can see any sunspots that are on the sun at the time. So as another possible hands-on cool activity and another addition to our vast solar array that we have now, we were wondering if we should purchase our own sunspotter. The observatory has one, and I think maybe it's been said in the past that it's possible that we could borrow it and whatnot, but it's much easier if we have our own. Yes.
I have one.
Oh, you have? Okay. Well,
Yeah, so we need it for a week.
so that do we? I guess the question is, yeah,
How much do they cost?
they cost about $500. So with something of that price, $500 and more, it takes the club to actually vote on it and approve that purchase. So that's why we didn't just say, yeah, let's just go do it. Now we did. I guess talking about the hands-on thing, we can have a little stack of the little white papers that you slide into position there, and something that you could have a little kid when it's on the sun can come up and trace the sun and pencil in the sunspots that are on it and stuff until they take home their own, same self-made drawing of the sun with its sunspots that day. Of course, that somebody will be there monitoring the thing the whole time.
How much money is available in funds for?
Mr. Trey. Yeah. At last report, I think we were somewhere around 6.
Marvin, so with everything we have, it's about $12.
Okay, yeah, we have around $12,000. So. Yeah.
I mean, I've had children at schools, it's very, very productive, it's wonderful, very, you say, we got used to something love.
Oh yeah.
So we can actually watch it, my resident kids, while they're waiting on that, so they can look at slides.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Sideport up in Freeport, they had one great. Yeah.
And that's another, it's a good thing. It's one of those things where it doesn't have to be one person at a time, like multiple people at a time can look, and especially if you're dealing with smaller kids that sometimes can have problems that don't understand what they're seeing, looking through an eyepiece. Then you can look through, or you can point the things out to them and explain, and that they're seeing what you're looking at. So, it's totally fine if you're like, you know what, I want more information on this thing, and we can send something out or whatnot, or do we feel confident in taking it vote now?
Well, you have two science teachers who are telling you, Mary's probably used it with hundreds of students, thousands. I know I've used it with thousands of students over the years, and it is incredible how the students are so mesmerized by it. Because it's real time, they're seeing it right in front of their eyes.
I'll make a motion, we vote on it now.
All right, so we have a motion on whether or not.
Does anybody want to speak against it?
Oh yeah, anybody want to say no?
That, it's crazy, that we don't need to do.
Are we gonna keep the gear then on site?
Yeah, more than likely it will be housed in the closet when it's not
No, I think it's
being
more of a threat.
allowed to be used or something. Yeah, it won't become Scott's personal sun spotter. So we have a motion with the club like to purchase a sun spotter for use in our outreach activities. All in favor? It looks like just about unanimous. All right, so the motion carries. The club will take care of purchasing a
Oh,
satellite. Actually, Trey can go ahead. Yeah, you can purchase the spotter.
Or we know Mary has one and she's here right now, so we can just send someone to her house.
Yeah.
But if you want to borrow it for the next time, it would be
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you don't. But now that will increase our, as I said, our array of, we now have 2 or 3 hydrogen alpha telescopes. A couple of them, the people have the ability to put cameras on it and have that going to a laptop or something, so we can have a full screen of it, and just people looking through the eyepiece through hydrogen alpha. We have multiple regular telescope with white light filter. Same thing. Some people can do cameras with that, and then we also have multiple sea stars in the club that come with their own solar filters, and so we've got that. Now those are obviously just on the tablet or phone.
Yeah, I'll put my
All the
Yeah, if you want to borrow that.
oh, okay, all right. She has a Star Lab, the only Star Lab left in the East Baton Rouge parish.
I feel like Chris has one here.
they used to.
Yeah, something happened, like the projector got stolen or something, for the projector. So that was many years since we've had one of those around. But yeah, that's good to know. All right. One other thing I forgot to mention to anybody, but I was contacted by, I have to get his name, I don't know if you know him because he was newer, but I was contacted by somebody from the Shreveport Bossier Astronomy Club that was just interested in how we do our sidewalk astronomy and just our outreach things in general, because they want to get sidewalk astronomy going up there someplace, and then they were also really interested in astronomy on tap. So we pointed them to the right people and whatnot. They want to get a chapter of astronomy on tap going up there.
It wasn't Cran, was it? Cran Lucas?
No.
Okay.
And he said he just got into the club, like just recently, and
Okay.
he's just like really wants to be active, wants to get things going.
Well, they got a sea star.
And he's interested in maybe sometime getting some kind of a joint thing going with us. They want to do some kind of star parties up there at their little observatory they've got. And so, oh, we'd love it if you guys wanted to come up and hang out.
Except the auto mall's encroaching on that.
Yeah.
But,
So I think that about does it for club business. So without any further ado, I'll introduce the guest speaker for the month. That's me.
Do you want me to do the introduction?
What's that?
So you want me to come out there and do the introduction and you can just sit in the wings? And...
For those of you who are new, which is Remy here, Matt, first time he's been to a club meeting here. Remy, first time to a club meeting. I think he might be related to Steve. So new to our meetings here, and you all have been to a meeting before, though, so yeah, you're not. Haley, we can almost call her new because she just never shows up unless we give them free food and stuff. Oh, very good.
Oh yeah, she's pretty much always online.
Well, it's good to see. Glad everybody came out. Thanks for coming out. And now I'm going to start this presentation. I'm blocking anybody's view. Everybody can see me. All right. I wrote a narrative script, so, but feel free to interject with any questions or anything as I go along. All right. The idea to do a presentation on Charles Messier came to me one evening as I was looking up information on some of the deep sky images that I had taken with my sea star. I often do that. I'll post them up on Facebook, but I generally will find out, like when it was discovered, how far away it was. And I started, you're always seeing, Charles Messier, but then I started seeing, well, this one was discovered by somebody else, but it's in Messier's catalog. And who was that guy? Oh, this guy was an assistant of Messier. I'm like, okay, so I just started getting more interested in who was this guy. It occurred to me that while I was quite familiar with Messier's catalog of objects, I knew very little about the man for whom the catalog was named. With this presentation, I'll briefly talk about some of his history and the history of that famous catalog. To properly set the stage, we'll begin with the state of astronomy in the 18th century. So, also known as the Age of Enlightenment, the century was buzzing with new scientific achievements and discoveries, helped along by the titans of the previous 2 centuries, Galileo and Newton. In case you didn't know, Galileo. Of particular importance at the time was maritime navigation. They were doing a lot of sea trading over to, especially England and stuff, going over to India and whatnot, and ships were getting lost. They were having problems, so the need for more accurate measurements of the positions of stars that could be used for navigation by the mariners was a key reason for the founding of the Greenwich Observatory in 1675, and it really kind of, jump-started things. That's the Greenwich Observatory. So also you had Newton's universal law of gravitation from the previous century that was able to undergo now rigorous testing at the many new observatories that were popping up. They were, okay, that's, using his laws of gravitation. They're starting getting to orbital mechanics and do predictions of the planets and all this kind of stuff, and really delving into that side of the science. And of course, Sir William Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus in 1781 was especially noteworthy, as it was the first new planet discovered since the ancient Greeks. Who, well, one of these days, being a musician myself, William Herschel was a musician. He actually, he wrote pieces of music. I think he had maybe even a symphony or something. I'd like to, that's my bucket list dream goal is to maybe at an Alcon or something, like contact of people that are attending that happen to be musicians too, and put together a group, send out the music beforehand and everybody can practice and then actually do a performance of one of Herschel's pieces at a conference or something. Would be a lot for me to do because trumpets back in that day didn't have valves or anything else up there. That's what all trumpets did. Herschel's time, but moving on again. So, just one more note about astronomy at the time. The pursuit of astronomy was mainly taken up by the highly educated and more often than not wealthy people. The so-called gentleman astronomer became a thing. Advanced degrees in physics and mathematics were not something for the masses, and neither was the ownership of telescopes capable of astronomical observations, although exceptions to the rule did exist all over. Light pollution was also not nearly an issue that it is today. Case in point, the observatory where Messier did the majority of his observations was near to downtown Paris, at the Hotel Cluny, where he lived and worked for most of his life. And that you can still see that now. It's the museum Cluny or whatnot, and it's just about across the river from Notre Dame Cathedral. That's what it looks like there. Is I don't know how to do the laser pointer. That one. So yeah, this little tower right here is where they had the little observatory. There's I'm not going to go into all of that history, but the gentleman that was Messier's boss that started that observatory there and whatnot. This was became the French Naval Observatory through some smart jockeying out by himself, that turned it a while. take too long, but more cool stuff for you to read up and find out on your own. But interesting history. Okay, so here we have the 18th century, the age of enlightenment. Science and scientific discovery are all the rage, and we're presented with people from comparative wealth pursuing academic degrees in physics and mathematics, learning to use telescopes under mostly very dark skies to more precisely map out our night sky. Enter our subject. So Charles Messier was born on June 26th, we're coming up on his birthday here, 1730 in the town of Baton Rouge in the Lorraine region of France. I might ask Trey for some French pronunciations coming up. He was the 10th of 12 children, and his father was a court usher. Not to the King of France, you have to dig a little bit deeper to find out that, at that time, Baton Rouge was not in Lorraine, in that, considered part of that region, and it was part of some other dukedom that was, part of the Holy Roman Empire, and so he was part of that court. But by those accounts, they're a very wealthy family. However, when he was just 11 years old, his father died. And I'll also note that 6 of his siblings never lived past early childhood, though I couldn't find specific causes of death for any of his siblings. But his upbringing and education was taken over by his older brother, Hyacinth, who was older by 13 years. And he was starting to make a name for himself, not in astronomy, but he got him a job in his office doing paperwork. It was at this job that he became skilled in note-taking and drawing and in general record keeping. He really, just reading, writing, all that kind of stuff. He didn't go to university and whatnot. His fascination with astronomy began when he was 13, and he first saw the great six-tailed comet of 1744. So this was a little side note on this. This comet reached the brightness of Venus by apparent magnitude by February of 1744, after having been discovered on November 29th of 1743. In March, as it moved away from perihelion, several observers recorded seeing a fan of 6 tails extending above the horizon when the nucleus, the coma of the comet, was down below the horizon, but they saw these 6 tails fanned out. Later, astronomers had theorized what could have caused that. Normally, a comet doesn't have 6 tails. We may see 2 tails sometimes, but 6 tails was very strange. They think that it could have been dust striation in there, just as you're near the horizon. They said it could have been multiple active sources at the comet's nucleus, each producing like 2 tails or something. So I just saw there was, as I was glancing through other things, there are other articles where people are still pursuing what could have caused this, So and I said, maybe it was this. But that would have been cool to see. In 1748, he was also lucky to observe an annular eclipse right from his hometown. So both of those things greatly excited him for astronomy. And at the age of 21, he set out on his own, and with the help of some family connections, was able to get a job as an assistant at the new Naval Observatory under Joseph Nicholas Delaune. He was apparently not hired because of his interest in astronomy, but because he had great office skills. Literally, his record keeping. So back to the Hotel Blue. The next 7 years had him learning more and more about astronomical observing and recording, and he did many basic observations. And this brings us to his comet hunting, most well-known one. at least at that time. Little side note, comets were mysterious objects at that time. The positions of the stars and the planets were calculated, and predictions could be made on when to see them, when they were going to leave, when they were coming back, different eclipses, all that sort of thing. But comets just seemed to appear out of nowhere, hang around for a bit, and then leave forever. Until we have Sir Edmund Halley, who had recently proposed that the comet apparitions of 1456, 1531, 1607, and 1682 were all the same object. They just kept leaving and coming back. And he predicted that it would return in 1758. Now, Halley had been in contact with Messier's boss, Delisle, and brought his predictions to his attention. He was in France, Halley was over in England, so, remember, we didn't have the social media and everything, as soon as somebody found something out, everybody in the world didn't know about it, It took a little while. So with that information, he was excited about that, and he set the task to Messier. So it was that Messier was given his first real astronomical task, to start searching the sky for the return of what would become known as Halley's Comet, starting in the summer of 1758. Excited for this chance of a lifetime, Messier jumped to action. He knew this would be a big deal if he could discover this comet. Unfortunately, for months, Messier restricted his observing to an area of the sky that Delisle's calculations had predicted the comet should be. Those calculations turned out to have errors, and they were incorrect. So Messier did finally find the comet in January of 1759, but he soon learned that he'd been beaten to the punch by an amateur German astronomer. I did not get his name, sorry. But Delisle was, this is the bad thing for Messier, Delisle was so certain that his calculations were correct, and that the object that Messier was observing was just an unrelated object, that he refused to give him permission to publish his findings and his observations. By the time that everybody realized, and Delisle realized, that the comet had actually been found and that Messier was right, it was too late. Messier published his observations, but it was months after the fact, and it just caused suspicion in the astronomical and academic community at the time, and he was never acknowledged as having acquired the comet, even though he was the second person to have acquired it, at least back in that time. Now, with the notes and stuff, they attributed to him. So he was not real happy about that. Fortunately for us, it was during that time of observing, and in fact it was in August of 1758, that Messier came across an undiscovered object in the vicinity of Taurus. This object looked just like the comet that he'd been searching for, but after observing it on subsequent nights, there was no movement to it. And so he cataloged it and just moved on. That object is now known as the Crab Nebula, and became #1 on the list that he was to publish. And we have the Crab Nebula. I didn't label this one, but I took this one with my C star.
We can tell, man.
Yeah.
We can tell it's you.
You can, oh yeah, yeah. You can tell it was my C star because you get that pretty diffraction spikes on that star. That's the inside joke for some of us. Our resident expert astrophotographer over here despises diffraction spikes. But, I like to make diffraction spikes in my images. You'll see some of his better work. So he'll get his revenge. I lost my thought. Thanks. Okay. So comet hunting comet hunting became his obsession for a time. And for the next 46 years, he spent more than 1,100 nights searching for comets. Almost all of the comets that were discovered, or almost all comets at that time, had been discovered naked eye. People would get, all of a sudden, there'd be something in the sky, keep getting brighter and brighter. Oh, we discovered a new comet. Messier was the first to utilize telescopes to specifically hunt for them before they were visible to the naked eye. Upon spotting a comet, he would observe and record for days. He once spent 71 days in a row making observations of a single comet. The thing that's more amazing to me than he spent 71 days in a row observing a comet is that he had 71 days in a row where he could observe a comet. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of Louisiana. We had 71 days in a row where you could get outside with a telescope. In his lifetime, he observed 44 comets, more than had been known to science before him. Of those 44, at least 13 bear his name as the sole discoverer, and several more have been listed as co-discoveries. Between 1763 and 1771, all comet discoveries, which were 8, were made by Charles Messier. So he became a big deal as the comet hunter and whatnot, especially now that they knew, these things could come back. They weren't just necessarily once in a lifetime things, so they were really trying to do the orbital mechanics and find this stuff. So, side note, while a brilliant observer, he was not a mathematician, so to speak. He would send his recorded observations to his friend, here we go, Trey, Jean-Baptiste Gaspard Borchat de Saron.
That's a long name.
Yeah. Who was a theoretical astronomy enthusiast. This was his hobby, theoretical astronomy. And he would perform the orbital calculations for Messier. And it was his quick calculations that attributed to Messier's success by allowing him to quickly reacquire comets after nights of poor weather. So he could go a week without seeing a comet because of clouds, but because he had these calculations, he could find it again and continue observing. Also during that period, he observed and recorded 93 lunar occultations, 400 eclipses of Jupiter's moons, 5 solar eclipses, 9 lunar eclipses, and measured 400 stellar positions. So he was busy. Back to the catalog. In 1774, Messier published his first catalog. It contained, anybody know how many objects were in the first catalog? No? No? 45, or up to Pleiades he had in the very first catalog. And the purpose of that catalog was just to assist others who were trying to observe comets from wasting their time at the eyepiece on these non-comet objects. This is from the original Messier catalog here, so kind of how they printed out, it's all in French, so Trey can read it, but that was Messier 1, I think. Interesting. While not the first catalog of its kind, there had been other people years before him that were putting out catalogs. It became popular due to the popularity of its author, as well as as the well-known comet hunter that he was. The second edition that came out in 1780 contains 68 objects. Most of the new objects had been discovered by the time of the publication of the first volume by him, but he got around to the second volume. Now it's said that he never actively searched for new objects. He wasn't looking for, let me increase the Messier catalog, or let me find more nebulas. It's always just something he continued to record as he was hunting for comets. This gentleman here. A third and final edition was published in 1781, containing 103 objects. But many of the new discoveries were from his colleague and collaborator, Pierre Michin. Messier, M-E-C-H-A-I-N. Messier, yeah, Pierre Messier. So he was a colleague of Messier's, and some articles I read called him his assistant. Others said that Messier sometimes worked for him, or vice versa, but a collaborator nonetheless. And he also included in this third edition discoveries from other contemporaries, such as Johann Bode, which we've heard maybe of Johann Bode. He was a bit of a rival of Messier with his own publications of catalogs. He put one out, Messier would get another one out, he put another one out. Occasional errors, though, gave way to most finding Messier's work to be more accurate, and he is therefore not as well known today. We know him because at least one galaxy in the Messier catalog has his nickname, right? Bode's Galaxy up there by Ursa Major. I think I have a picture of it coming up later. As an example of one of the errors they're talking about, in one of Bode's catalogs, he included 3 objects from 3 different astronomers. Messier was one of them. But because he did not check the positions well enough and stuff before he published, it was found that all 3 of those objects were actually the same object. You know, and so yeah, accuracy matters. People just went with the more famous Charles Messier. Now, beginning in the 20th century, more additions were made to the catalog, starting in 1921, by attributing the discoveries, or at least detections, of the object via some of Messier's notes and Machen's notes as well. So the current total of Messier objects is 110, yes. So it makes me wonder if they're, maybe they've exhausted his notes now, but maybe, next year there could be 111, 112, so. The longevity and popularity of Messier's catalog can be attributed to its accessibility. Messier himself preferred to use smaller telescopes to slowly scan the night sky in his hunts. He wanted a nice, big, broad field of view. And he didn't have the kind of money and stuff that William Herschel had, who was building some of the most massive and awesome telescopes in the world. So many of the objects are still easily found by even a good pair of binoculars or a very modest telescope. In his later years, he slowed down considerably, mostly due to an accident that he suffered in 1781. While out on a stroll with his family, he saw some sort of basement, and he went over and was inspecting it out of curiosity, and he slipped and fell 24 feet into a deep ice storage cellar. Suffered a broken femur, a broken upper arm, 2 broken ribs, and a broken wrist, as well as a good deal of blood loss. So it took him most of the whole year to recover from that, and he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. And of course, we have to throw ourselves back into history, what was about to happen around this time, or what was going on this time. Yes, the French Revolution impacted him greatly. The upkeep of the French Naval Observatory, of which he was now the head of after his boss Delisle had retired, was discontinued. They dissolved the French Navy stuff and whatnot, or at least as it stood at the time, and they discontinued with any funding for the upkeep of that French Naval Observatory, which was that Hotel Cluny that he had been living at and doing all of his observations. It was said that he was often forced to borrow money just for lamp oil to write some of his observations and stuff at night. French Revolution happening there. His colleague and benefactor, the guy that was doing all of his orbital calculations for him, Desarron, was guillotined in the Reign of Terror. He actually calculated the orbit of his last comet for Messier from prison. So fortunately, he was able to weather the storm of those tumultuous years, and after his final comet discovery in 1801, at the age of 71, Napoleon presented him with the Cross of the Legion of Honor for France. He observed his last comet in 1807, and then suffered from failing eyesight, and so his observing days were done, and his health just continued to decline over the next decade, and he died in April of 1817, but at the ripe old age of 87. And you can still visit his grave today in La Chase, cemetery there. So I know that was some sort of little astronomical plaque they put up there, and it was up here. I've seen zoomed in images. You can read the name Messier. I'm not really one for visiting graveyard, but I don't know. I might stop on that one. No.
Jim Morrison's grave.
Yeah, Jim Morrison. Yeah, there.
I think they
Yeah.
just found his tombstone.
What's
Like,
that?
Somebody had stolen Morrison's phosphorus tombstone.
Oh, really?
You know, like 20 years ago. I think they just found it.
All right, so now just talking about some of his accolades. He was made a fellow of the Royal Society. That was from England, very prestigious. He was made a member of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. After many years, he finally was made a member of the French Academy of Sciences. The articles I read said they were really, there was a lot of suspicion because he had taken that several months to claim that he had found Halley's Comet and stuff. They did not like that, so it took a little while. But he was also nicknamed the Ferret of Comets by King Louis XV for his work hunting up the comets. There's a whole other story that says he was actually called this by the king for this reason, and then that turned in, just kind of turned into the Ferret of Comets. But most things just seem to call him the Ferret of Comets. And a famous author and professor that was also a colleague and friend of his, Jerome de Lalande, published a new stellar globe that included a new constellation, Justus Messier, in his honor. And from what I read, they said it was one of the only, especially at that time, it was the only constellation that had been named after an astronomer. It was nowadays, it's one of those lost constellations that doesn't exist, but it was, it's now a part of Cassiopeia. So I should have included a picture up there. I was going to, but I ran out of time. But yeah, it was, I know. It was like Cassiopeia and Camelopardus was there, and then he was like, now, just talking about some Messier observing. As I said, the Messier objects are popular because they are some of the easiest to spot. Many of them can be found in what we'll refer to as less than perfect sky conditions, and a few are even naked eye. From a good dark sky site, you can see the Andromeda Galaxy naked eye. You can see, even make out a small event 42, the Pleiades. You don't even have to be in a super dark sky. You can see the Pleiades, and that's Messier 45. Just to name a couple of them. For a couple of weeks each spring, it's even possible to observe all 110 objects in a single night. That is known as a Messier marathon. For any of you that know Trevor McGuire, one of our former members, I think his record was 103. So he attempted it numerous times.
We got them. We did them in Freeport. Yeah.
Did you get them? Did you get all 10?
Yeah,
all
we were 74 was the hardest one to get.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. So, because it's just before dawn or just after sunset when you have to acquire that one, and it's easy to lose in the sun. So some examples, I included a few examples of Messier objects from our club members. We have M3 by Coy. He's like, oh, that's not very good. Yeah.
It
This
took,
was,
I did what, 16 minutes, I just wanted to quickly get it.
yeah, 60 minutes. This was with the Sea Star, so becoming a fun little thing. This was Messier 13 from Scott Cadwell.
With the galaxy.
Notice the lack of
Oh,
diffraction spikes, yeah.
Ben, can you see?
She cuts the lights off for his picture.
Make sure it's pictures. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, this one is easily acquired with binoculars. This was M16. I just did this a few weeks ago with my Sea Star. It's probably a little bit bigger and could have come out, but the center of that one there is what we all know as the pillars of creation, from that famous Hubble image back in the day. Another Sea Star. It really is cheating for astrophotography. I sit there and watch TV while it does astrophotography.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. There's M31. And is it that? Which one is that? 110? Is that 110? Yeah. Yeah.
31, 32,
Yeah.
110.
Oh yeah. There's 32 here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we've got Andromeda Galaxy, then Messier 31 here, and Messier 110 over there. Stands to reason. If he saw that one, he probably saw that one. So they could easily add that one to his collection. But yeah, good. This was not a Sea Star image. Now this one, I included my Messier 51 that I actually took using the 20-inch scope upstairs. And as you can see, I was not a big fan of doing post-production and like flat subtractions and dark subtraction. That's actually a dust particle that's up there on the camera or whatnot. They make little donuts and stuff. But the reason I